Hi, good morning, everyone joining us this morning. Good morning, Amanda and Shemor.
Good morning, everyone.
Yes, I am Tiana Jordan, the Advocacy and Communications Officer here at ChildLinK. I'd like to welcome you to our Facebook Live discussion. Today's topic is the importance of safeguarding children. And this discussion is under our Communities Responding in Emergencies CRIE project, which is funded by the Delegation of the European Union. I have two persons to be here this morning, and I'm going to give you guys the opportunity now to introduce yourselves. Tell us a bit about yourselves, for those persons who aren't familiar with you guys. Maybe Amanda can go first.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Once again, my name is Amanda. I am the court support officer attached to the Regions 3 and 4 Child Advocacy Center. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm Shemor, Denny, the Parental Officer at ChildLinK. My job is basically to encourage parents, support them and guide them, and provide them with necessary skills and knowledge to help foster better relationship with their children.
Thank you very much. And once again, it's good to have you here on today's discussion. And I look forward to hearing your views on this topic. Once again, the topic is the importance of safeguarding children. Now, I know persons will be wondering what exactly does it mean, for a child to be safe, or what exactly is safeguarding a child? So can you, in your own words, tell us what that is?
Would you like me to go first?
Yes, you can go first.
Okay, well, I feel when we say a child is safe, it means they are in an environment where they're free from harm, physically and emotionally. It's about ensuring their well-being and, giving them a space to learn, grow, and thrive without unnecessary risk.
All right. I'll add a bit more to what Shemor would have said. Apart from just physically, emotionally, it's also meaning being safe from any psychological harm. It includes protection from abuse, neglect, and any factors that, like Shemor would have said, that could hamper their growth and overall health.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. And, I like that you both mentioned physically and emotionally, and also the psychological factors, and also, protecting children from abuse, which, is one of the main focus for us here at ChildLinK. And when it comes to parents and caregivers, what should, they do to safeguard children, or what is their responsibility, when it comes to safeguarding children?
All right, so I'll start. Basically, when it comes to parents or caregivers, um, from my own perspective, being a parent, we all have a duty towards children to look out for them. We bring them into this world, and it's our duty to look out for them and to make them as safe as possible. So there are a lot of strategies that parents or caregivers can put in place to safeguard children. I think it starts with supervision, keeping a watchful eye on them, especially the younger ones. There's so much going on in the world these days that it's not advisable to just have them running around, whether it be on their tablets, on a phone, on a computer. You really need to supervise them. You can educate them because it's never too early to teach children about personal safety. And this could include simple safety measures like playing with fire, crossing the street, what to do in an emergency, right? Teaching them about the personal safety, about persons and so on in the environment. I also believe open communication is key, because once parents set open lines of communication, children are free to share how they feel. Parents create an environment that they can understand where these children are coming from. And it's easier for everybody to talk about what's going on. I don't know if Shemor has anything else to add.
Yes, well, you said a lot. I agree. Parents and caregivers have a vital role in protecting their children. I believe that they also should create not only a safe environment, but one of a nurturing one. They need to set clear boundaries. They should, as you said, monitor their activities and also offer guidance. So, like you said, crossing the road or making sure they're wearing their safety helmet or seat belt is very important. That when you tell them that, you also tell them why these are important. So I believe that caregivers and parents have a very vital role in protecting their children, since they are the first people the child will be with.
And of course, parents, just to add a bit more, parents also need to have the model behaviors, right? Because children, we know, they look at us, they watch what we're doing. So if you're going to say, don't do this, but yet you're doing it, the children most likely will be doing it also. So parents also have to practice model behaviors for their little ones to look at. And yeah, model behaviors.
Yes, is definitely important for parents to be that positive role model in their children's life. And also I like that you both mentioned communication. You also mentioned supervision when it comes to monitoring your children. Parents must play an active role. How does effective communication between maybe parents and their children, contribute to child protection? Maybe Shemor can go first.
Well, effective communication between children and their parents is vital because the child needs to know what the parents are talking about, and they need to set very clear and concise rules, because we could be telling them something, but we don't tell them why they need to do it. So it's very important that we implement effective communications approaches when we are communicating with our children.
Yeah, like I said before, open communication is always key, right? It fosters a supportive network. So at least it ensures their safety, well-being, and overall development, right? So parents, once you have that open line of communication between your child and you, that child is free to share. Um, I can tell you personally, growing up, the communication was never really there between my mother and I. And parents basically don't want that, because you're going to go out and you're going to get your information from friends and other persons. But when you create that supportive communication where you can share, you feel free to share what is going on, it's always good. Parents can talk about behavior changes. You let the child know what is going on, what is expected of them. The child in turn tells you how they feel about this. It's always a really good thing.
And not only parents, it's very important that whoever the child is associated with, let's say the
Mhm.
teachers
Yes.
that are in the child's life, it's very important that the teacher communicates effectively with the child, letting the child know that if there are any challenges, they could come and talk to them. Any problems at home, they
Mhm.
can come and talk to them.
Of course, of course. And teachers and parents, there really needs to be that communication. It's not just dropping your children off to school as if it's a daycare. But you find out how is the child doing in school. Teachers can in turn look for behavioral changes and so on. And if you notice something, reach out to the parents. Well, I would have noticed Mary behaving in a certain way, which she's usually not behaving this way. What's going on at home? Is anything happening? So the communication between the teachers and parents is also very important.
Yes, I like that both of you brought in teachers, because that would have been my next question, asking about, the role teachers can play when it comes to effective communication. You mentioned that there needs to be, more communication between teachers and parents. And I know sometimes if a teacher notices something and, they try to bring it up with the parent might not want to listen or might not believe that teacher and so on. What can be done in such a situation?
I think persons, basically, it comes back to communication between the teachers and the parents. Um, Creating that environment where parents are free to talk to teachers, teachers are free to talk to parents. It In the end, it's all about the best interest for that child. Maybe have some more, parent teachers conferences and so on. Invite parents out, create that environment that it's okay. Your teachers are not here to judge your child, but to create an environment where that child can grow. So yeah, it maybe more parent teachers conferences and so on.
Yes, I totally agree. And not only on the teacher's side, but when the parents is invited, the parents make an effort to go out and
Yeah.
see what their child is doing, what the teacher is observing, and so on. Because we know a lot of times parents have to work, but it's still very important that you try and make an effort to come into your child's school, not only when there's a parent teachers conference, but
Yeah.
just drop in and see what the child is doing, what's the child is doing at school and what the teacher is observing with the child. So it's very important that parents play an active role in seeing what their child is doing at school and other environments, including.
Definitely. Parents need to have that interest in their child's life. They need to put, their child first when it comes to especially their safety and protection. Um, how can parents strike a balance between, allowing their children to explore the world or giving them that independence, but yet keeping them safe from potential harm? Some parents might struggle with this, some may be a little overprotective, or some might give their children a little too much independence again. So how do they strike that balance?
Well, it's a delicate balance, Tiana. Parents need to encourage exploration gradually, meaning
Mhm.
as the child grows, you don't just push everything on the child at once at a certain age and say, okay, because you probably think they're 10, they're old enough to do this, they're old enough to do that. It's a balance. So let's say, for instance, at the age of 9, you could start allow them to go to their probably neighbor's house alone, who had a friend that they could play with in a safe distance away from their home. And it's very important that you, when you send them out into the world, that you communicate clear rules and potential dangers so that children them know that, okay, we're going here. It's very important that we do this and do that to keep safe because mommy and daddy is not
Mhm.
around. So it's very important that we do that so the children learn to make more informed decisions and be more safe out there.
Yes, adding to what Shamar would have said, open communication is again key. I think with everything, having good communication between your children and parents is always the key, right? Shamar also talked about educating them, and we really need to start educating our children and talk as much as possible. Not, I know in this day and age, you still find some parents, certain conversations are still taboo, and parents don't want to get into certain conversations with children. But things have become so evolved that children are learning at a much younger age. So sometimes parents might say, okay, I'm going to wait until this child reaches a certain age to talk about certain topics, but then you might be surprised at what these children are learning out there, even before you even try to initiate that conversation. So you need to educate them. Parents need to talk more to them. Setting ground rules, basic ground rules, clear ground rules for them. Maybe reaching out to neighbors and so on, monitoring them also. So there is it allowing children to explore the world is a good thing. It fosters this independency and so on, but at the same time, yes, you need to be careful, and to me that's where educating them comes in.
Yes, and you mentioned education and the importance of educating children. How or what role, does education play in teaching children about personal safety and potential dangers when it comes to the school system? Maybe how early should this school curriculum, introduce children to these topics?
I know in the secondary schools they have this course, HFLE. Personally, I think it should be taught in primary school, because these days you're seeing children maturing even earlier. And I believe it's important to start teaching them from that primary level about their bodies, teaching them about the consequences and so on of certain things, right? Education it really is important.
I also agree, because not only are they maturing, but they're being exposed to
Yes.
a lot. So it's very important that they have the knowledge, so they know if they're exposed, hopefully they're not, but if they're exposed to it, they know that this is wrong or this is not right. So it's very important that they do have the knowledge in school.
Yes, definitely. And also, I know Amanda would have touched on this in terms of parents checking in with their neighbors and so on. What more can neighbors and other adults in the community do to ensure the safety, of all children in communities?
All right, so when it comes to neighbors, they play a vital role also in safeguarding children, especially in these close-knit communities. I personally grew up well, I'm still living in that community. It's a very close-knit community. The schools are there, the health center is there, schools in terms of nursery and primary, right? So the playground is there. And I know this might vary for other communities, but I can share on my community, which I grew up. Everybody knew everybody, right? All the children, well, most of the children in the community, we all attended the same nursery school. We all attended the same primary school. We branched off into secondary, but parents know each other. Everybody attended the same health center. So, but apart from that, neighbors do play a vital role, right? What they can do is be watchful, be observant, look out for any unusual or dangerous situations involving children. Again, open communication. Parents need to know your neighbors, communicate regularly, say good morning, ask how you're doing, know each other's children and so on, right? I know quite a few communities have the neighborhood watch, the group that patrols and so on. And I think that's a really good thing, because it's community members who are in these groups. So again, they know each other, and that's a form of looking out for each other. So neighbors do play a vital role.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Amanda's covered most of what I wanted to say. It's very important that neighbors get to know each other, get to know who the neighbors are, and live good with each other. So if something happens, your neighbor looks out for you and your children, just like how you will look out for your neighbor and their children, because it takes a village to raise a child. So it's very important that you all build supportive network where everyone looks out for each other.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. It's, very important for children to grow up in an environment where they would feel safe, where they have that support, that strong support network to, ensure that there wouldn't be any danger that comes to them. in this digital age, we know there's a lot that is currently going on, and children, they're exposed to so many things online. What should be done, and maybe by whom, to protect children from potential online dangers? Maybe, there are a lot of predators out there that can prey on these children. What should be done, and like I said, by whom, to protect children from online dangers?
All right. For me, I
Well,
think it starts. Go ahead, Shemor.
okay, thanks. Well, for in this digital age, Gianna, I believe parents should educate their children and should educate themselves, because a lot of parents don't know a lot about technology. So not only educating your children, like sending them to computer classes and computer literacy classes, but you also educate yourself so you know what would be the best way of navigating this whole digital age. So it's very important that parents educate their children about online risk and set clear guidelines for internet use. You don't have them on the internet the entire day just to distract them so that they don't come in trouble you. It's very important that you set guidelines that the children could be on the internet, let's say, for just 3 hours a day or so on. It's very important that you also set like parental controls and monitoring these software that you put on their devices on a consistent basis. Just don't put it there and leave it and say, oh, that's going to do the work. When you put it on, is very important that you also monitor it on a consistent basis. And also with teachers, it's very important that schools teachers implement some kind of like digital literacy education so that children can be taught how to navigate the internet safely and responsibly.
Yes, definitely. As Shamar said most of what I would have wanted to say. I was going to talk from a parent's point of view. Definitely for me, I believe it starts with the parent. Um, that's where children get their first devices from. I didn't grow up with a cell phone until I didn't get a cell phone until I was probably almost finished with secondary school, right? So I didn't have an issue with technology. Homework was done at the internet, and you only went and you browsed and you printed your document and you came home. However, things have evolved so much that this day you can probably find every child with a tablet. You go around and you see babies like a few months old, you see parents showing them cartoons on the phone, you see them with tablets and so on, watching videos and so on. Now, when they reach a certain age where they'll be browsing the internet on their own, parents really need to educate children. Again, it starts with open communication, talking to them, let them feel comfortable that, you educate them on what the harmful things are out there, but you also have them feel safe so that if somebody sends them a picture or a video or they see something, you're browsing even as adults and you see these ads pop up, and sometimes it might not even be something that you even was looking for, but they have ads that pop up on the internet, and some of them are harmful towards children. So you have that child become comfortable that, if something like that happens, they can feel free to come and tell you about those encounters, right? Um, Parents also can teach the children on information that they can share. Um, Sometimes you hear about teens, well, not sometimes, a lot of times, the teens in this age, they're on all the social media apps. I'm talking Instagram, TikTok, and TikTok is a famous thing right now. Um, I work at the Child Advocacy Center in Region 4, and I was made aware of a case that this child was portraying behaviors that were not age appropriate. And I remember sitting down with this child, and this child is in primary school. And I remember sitting down, and during a conversation, we were talking. And when I asked, how you know to do these things? She said TikTok. So, and there are a lot of small children who watch TikTok videos, but again, not all of them are age appropriate. And this child would have seen this dance and would have went into school and was showing other children, but it was not age appropriate for her. So parents, I think it begins with parents when it comes to them being online and really monitoring what that child is looking at. The other day, a friend and I were having this conversation, and she was telling me that she had her nephews and her nieces over, and she passed by one of her nieces and she saw her looking at a cartoon. But she said what stopped her is because the cartoon, it wasn't what she would think of as a child's cartoon. Now, even though it was a cartoon, it was not for children. It was very sexualized. So I know, and I know that probably would escape a lot of parents' um, view, because you would think, oh, it's a cartoon, but it might not necessarily be a cartoon for children. So parents really need to monitor what the children are watching, where they're browsing, especially if they're browsing the internet and not just looking at the things that the parents are downloading into the tablet. Children are so smart that they go into Play Store and they download any and everything that they see. Right? Once it looks interested, they download it. But again, it might not be age appropriate for them. I know on the tablets, parents, Shemor, I don't know if you know about it, but it's when you do the setup of the tablet, there's a parental part, and when you put
Yes.
in your password, you can decide what the child views and what the child doesn't view. I know when I did it on my children's tablet, it actually stopped them from going on the internet and browsing. So it was basically the apps that you would download into the tablet that's the only thing they would get to see. It's not that they can go and browse on their own. Now, of course, that's for the smaller children. Now, for
Yeah.
the older ones who are browsing the internet now, you need to educate them and you need to monitor what they're looking at. So for me, it starts with parents.
Yes, and like you said, monitoring plays a major role. That's the biggest aspect when it comes to, protecting children from online dangers. And some of them are even so smart that they might bypass those parental controls on the device.
That's true. That's true. It is true because
Yes.
I am not technologically savvy. I know my way around a computer, like to do the basics, Word documents and Excel and so on. PowerPoints, yes. When it comes to browsing the internet, maybe. Surprisingly, there are little children who would run rings around, and I can say that for myself, who can run rings around me on a device. So, and in
That's
this
why I
day and
mentioned it's
age,
very important that parents themselves get themselves educated
yes,
on,
yes,
yes,
especially in this day and age where technology has evolved so much. Your parents really need to, even if you don't want to, you have to get
They
ahead
have
of these children. There's a need for it now because that's how far technology has come. And there's so much harm out there. There's so much predators out there that prey on children. So parents really need to educate themselves, like Shemar said, educate themselves so that they can educate their children.
Definitely. And as we move forward in our discussion, so far it's a very interesting discussion. You guys have raised so many important points on, the importance of safeguarding children. I'd like to know now, what should the government and maybe other civil society organizations do to ensure that children are always protected?
All right, so I'll start in terms of the government. There's so many the policies can be put in place. Laws can be enforced that protect children from abuse and exploitation, right? We know there's the Child Protection Agency. Um, there's also government can also use public awareness campaigns and just to bring awareness among parents, caregivers, communities, and so on, right? About child protection and reporting anything unusual or any concern, right? Um, we can also have trainings for professionals. We're talking about teachers, police officers, the nurses, right? Basically, places that parents and community members and so on visit. You provide trainings for those professionals so that they know about on how to respond to child protection agencies and so on. Where it comes to civil societies, advocacy is a really big thing. So I know ChildLinK raises awareness about various child protection issues and so on, right? They can also go into community, get the mobilized communities, right, to create safe spaces for children. And this is both online and offline, because when we're going to talk about the digital age now, we have a lot of communities that have computer programs, especially for this July, August vacation. So if you're going to teach them about the computers and so on, you need to also be able to raise awareness on the harmful things out there, right? Capacity building sessions for parents, community members, and so on to recognize the signs of abuse. That's also important.
Yes, Amanda, I totally agree. And I also would like to add that when the government enact these laws, that they also enforce them so that they
Mhm.
can safeguard children and their rights, and also allocate resources to child protection services. That is very key. Civil societies, they could organize awareness, raising awareness, sensitization, provide support to families in need, and advocate, as you said, for policies if there is a need or a lack to promote the safety of children and their well-being.
Definitely. And also when it comes to advocacy and, raising awareness to child protection issues, there also needs to be a consistency. You can't just do
Yes.
it one time and, you stop, and then next few months again, something happens, you start again, and so on. There needs to be a consistency with which, this is being done, especially by the civil society organizations. Um, as we prepare to wrap things up, I'd like to know or hear from you, where can children go to report cases of abuse, and maybe not even children, but parents also and other community members?
All right. In terms of children, we know children spend most of their time in school. So children can go to the teachers. I also know in some schools we have guidance counselors there. So children can reach out to a guidance counselor, and then that guidance counselor can take it to the relevant authorities. They can go to somebody they trust also, which can be a religious leader, it can be a parent, it can be some other family member, right? Um, for parents, community members, we know there's the police stations, we know there's a child care and protection agency also.
Yes, I totally agree. Children can reach out to trusted adults like parents, teachers, or guidance counselors, as Amanda highlighted. There are also dedicated hotlines that they can call, organizations that they can reach out, like ours, that specialize in helping children in difficult situations. So I believe that Amanda have covered most of what I said, and that is it.
Yes. And is there anything else, any one of you would like to add, maybe recap on what we touched on today or something?
Well, I think we would have covered it all, basically on how both parents, community members, teachers, NGOs, the government and so on can really protect our children. And like I would have said at the starting, when it comes to parents, it's our duty to protect our children, whether that child is yours biologically or not, whether that child is adopted, whether it's your neighbor child. It's your duty to protect children. we as adults have that duty, right? And we now know from this discussion so much that persons can do, and persons out there listening in, there's so much more that can be done also. So we basically know a lot right now, but I urge everybody to just look out, be, there's a saying, be each other's keepers. Just look out for children. Like I keep saying, it's a duty. Parents, I know some parents don't like anybody sticking into their business. Some neighbors might say, oh, that's not my business. But once you're seeing something that is of a concern, you have a duty to report it to the relevant authorities so that something can be done, right? And even if you don't want your name being called, the child protection has the anonymous hotlines that you can call. But we really need to look out for each other. Parents, sometimes we can't do it all on our own. And that is where collaborating with teachers, neighbors, members of the community, religious leaders, that's where it comes in. Like Shemor would have said, it takes a village to raise a child. And once you have all of these collective efforts being placed on that child's well-being, things are going to be good.
Any final comments from you, Shemor?
I think Amanda would have covered everything I wanted to say. It's very important that we as communities, we as a society, want to, and we should have a duty to protect children.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shemor and Amanda. I know you guys are very busy, so it was great to have you on today's discussion, and persons who joined us would have learned so much, not just parents and caregivers, but also teachers, other adults, young people, children also, they would have learned so much from this conversation, which, focused on the importance of safeguarding children. And before I go, I'd just like to share, Amanda would have mentioned the CPA's anonymous hotline. That is the 914 hotline number. So persons can reach out to that number to report any case of abuse. That's the 914 hotline number. And of course, you can always go to the nearest police station to make any report and so on. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in to our discussion. This discussion is possible because of our communities responding in emergencies CRIE project, which is funded by the Delegation of the European Union here in Guyana. With that being said, I want to wish everyone a great day. And once again, thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, Tiana.
Thank you.